It's time for Agriculture, presented by Turkana Farms in Germantown, New York, a small-scale producer of heritage breed livestock and a wide array of vegetables and berries on just over 39 acres. They also produce a full array of garden vegetables, many of them heirloom varieties raised naturally, as well as an assortment of berries, including raspberries, blackberries, gooseberries, black, red, and white currants, mulberries, and elderberries. And now, here's Mark Scherzer.
There are 4 individuals in our household with very different dietary preferences and food aversions, but it appears we are all united in our love of brassicas: cabbage, kale, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, etc. It's a love I now know we share with the groundhogs who live among us and who keep marauding our garden. I've been assiduously cultivating a patch of kale in various varieties, from the familiar curly-leafed light green to the straight-leafed dark blue-green lacinato to mixed Siberian and Russian greens and reds, since the earliest days of the garden this season. It started with a mix of leftover seedlings Victoria kindly brought back from the farm where she's working, and a packet of mixed exotic seeds I got from the Hudson Valley Seed Company. They were doing pretty well up to about 2 weeks ago when I noticed that the big leaves of those furthest along were disappearing. Every day I would come out and find more and more of the plants decimated. Thankfully, the grazing just took the bigger leaves. The stems and smallest new leaves were generally left behind, so the plant would regenerate. Still, it was frustrating that whatever began to look like it would soon be harvestable was disappearing, when we should have already been eating homegrown kale. I realized we were dealing with a decided taste for brassica when one morning I found the kale without new damage, only to see that a similar munching pattern had been replicated in the nearby bed of Brussels sprouts. 2 days later, it was the bed of broccoli. Unlike the kale patch, which I'd assiduously weeded and mulched so the kale plants were the only thing to eat, the Brussels sprouts and broccoli patches were pretty weedy. With young brassicas I had seeded, not that easy to discern. Nonetheless, whatever was eating them was doing so selectively. The amaranth, gallant soldier, lamb's quarter, purslane, and chickweed, among which my seedlings were growing, remained untouched, but the brassicas were continuously reduced to 1 or 2 leaves. The thought of adding further interior garden fences to a fenced garden, or of hiring a trapper, as I had in the past, or reverting to what always seemed to me to be a futile effort to poison the groundhogs through putting smoke bombs in their tunnels, was highly discouraging. I felt I was looking forward to an endless war, and my discouragement turned to near rage the other morning when I came out to water a row of sugar snap peas, not even brassicas, I had planted along the garden fence, and which were in flower and starting to produce pods. I found virtually the entire 50-foot stretch of pea vines gone. In some cases, the tops of the vines were still twined in the fence, shriveling, allowing me to see that the eating was done from the ground level. And I kind of kicked myself for having just weeded around those peas, as I saw that the few vines that were spared were those made invisible behind blackberry canes. Such was my anger, that the same afternoon, when we found Eric's dog Lily in confrontation with a large groundhog, I relished the battle that ensued. The groundhog was snarling, Lily was barking loudly and incessantly, and while she was frequently picking up the creature and swinging it around, it was biting back. Even as Troy objected that allowing Lily to fight with a wild animal was no way to address our groundhog problem, my bloodlust was such that I asked Eric to let it continue. And he did for a while, until it was clear that the standoff was exhausting her, and she was not going to win the fight easily. I wonder if my perhaps irrational response simply reflects the larger environment in which we're living. We escaped the farm as COVID-19 ravaged the city for what we thought would be a couple of weeks. That turned into a 3-month continuous stay, unprecedented for me, and which, if I'm determined to keep staying safe while not feeling imprisoned, looks like it could stretch into next year. Not a brief skirmish with the flu, a protracted war. There are numerous reactions one might have to the prospect of a long-haul war, and all of us probably experience all of them to different degrees at different times. Most of the time I'm in the grit my teeth and just slog through it state of mind. I expect not to return to the normal activities I love for a very long time to come. But at other times the prospect of enduring such a long-haul war depresses me, fills me with a simmering fury, makes me want to find someone to blame. My fuse is short, and I think maybe a decisive battle is required to move on. Hence, kill that groundhog, Lily. In this way, I guess my character is more American and less disciplined than I think. Much commentary has already been written on Americans' inability to discipline themselves and to sacrifice in this pandemic. It seems clear to me that the enthusiasm on the left and the right for engaging in risky virus-spreading behavior in the service of ideological goals, BLM demo, meet MAGA rally, is an example of that lack of discipline. Or you could state it more positively, a passion for self-expression. But the wars over masking, the reopen movements, they're not unique to America, but they are particularly acute here, part of a tradition that posits an inconsistency between social responsibility to each other and personal liberty, autonomy. That strain in our culture is a big part of the reason that our pandemic is going to remain so much more serious than the one in Europe. But even folks without an ideological trigger, as described in many news articles lately, are eating away at social distancing in a way that to me portends tragedy. A lot of the time lately I've been reminded of the chorus to Country Joe and the Fish's Vietnam song. And it's 1, 2, 3, what are we fighting for? Don't ask me, I don't give a damn. Next stop is Vietnam. And it's 5, 6, 7, open up the pearly gates. Well, there ain't no time to wonder why. Whoopee, we're all going to die. But in our current circumstances, we will also apparently accept unbearable numbers of casualties in the interest not just of fighting, but also of partying. More like eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we may die. I could write on, but I'm beset by impatience myself. Unable to postpone my own gratification, I'm running off to Rhinebeck to get a haircut.
Agriculture is underwritten by Chicana Farms, LLC, a small-scale producer of heritage-bred livestock and a wide array of vegetables and berries on just over 39 acres in Germantown, New York. More information, 518-537-3815.